The word on the street is that EastEnders needs to stop embarrassing itself. It needs to go back to the way it was 20 years ago. It needs to stop doing crime. It needs to stop being woke. It needs to stop being DEI. That's an American term, by the way. I don't know that word. It needs to stop being all these things because it's embarrassing itself. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, a lot of people say, like, oh, EastEnders isn't as good as it was 20 years ago. Wasn't as good as it was 30 years ago. Wasn't as good as it was 40 years ago. It's just a term people have been using. And by people, I mean the Reddit mostly. Because people like nostalgia. They love nostalgia. Like, you grew up with the first Toy Story. When Toy Story 5 comes out, you're going to hate Toy Story 5. It's just not Toy Story 1, 2, or 3. It's just that kind of thing that's going to happen. It's a revolving door that's always bound to happen, where people are going to hate the present because it's not how they viewed the show. Even though the show they viewed happened in the 2000s. Now, this video is mostly us going through, like, is EastEnders as bad as people are saying it is? Was it as good as it was 20 years ago? All that kind of thing. And by the way, the woke and DEI bit was supposed to actually make you mad. So if it did, congratulations, you fell for my bait. I had to politic with Ash to get that in, by the way. I had to politic with him.
I had politics. I misspelled embarrassing. There's a double S and there's not an S in there, so change it.
Do you want
has
to
to change. No, I'll just go into some ideas. It's always an interesting thing when people go through the idea that it's not as good as it used to be, and it's something that it depends on where the show's at. Because fundamentally, like, if we take current EastEnders example, I would not say that EastEnders is worse than it used to be right now. But if you look at something like Coronation Street, for example, which is marginally worse than it has been in the past, then you can actually use that argument. But it's also typically, it depends where the argument comes from. If it comes from the angle of you're a fan who's been watching the show for years and years, but it's just not like used to, because as Piggy hinted at, we all get in at different angles. We all get in at different times. Some of those stories that we got when we were first interested typically shape how we look at soap. Like, obviously, my example's Alfie Moon 2018, but beside the point, that one didn't exactly carry over, because even me, rekindling my passion for the show, realised, yeah, maybe we just don't talk about that one anymore, you know? But it's always a weird thing, because it just changes. I did a Jack Branner there. Just changes on where, like, a lot of stuff changes naturally. The issue with soap is it's an ongoing, long-term serial thing. So the way you watch something when you're 5 isn't going to be the same as the way you watch something when you're 20, for example. It's just not how it works. You have different interests at the time. You have different ideas of what you want to see, what you want to do. Like, if 10-year-old me's watching Scooby-Doo and the Hex Girls crop up, I'm like, wow, I like the music, they're really cool. And then teenage me watches it, and I'm like, I love the Hex Girls. Why? No reason. Mum, shut the door. But, like, still, it changes through time with how you typically engage with stuff, and it happens with soap, right? People get mad about soaps not making sense and how it does, and it being different from what you remember. But if you watched it in the 2000s as a kid and you watch it now, I mean, first and foremost, you probably have a lot more time to invest back then than you do now. So now you're watching it on the pretense of you liked it before, but now it doesn't necessarily have to make you like it as much now. Now you just have to buy into what you're seeing currently. And what you're seeing currently, you may not have as much time or investment or willingness to care about it as you would have previously. Like, it's just, it's hard to quantify, because some people generally believe that it was much years ago. And you can probably suggest that in a different way, but still, everything evolves with time. EastEnders is not the show that it was 40 years ago. That's just not how it works. And you can't expect it to be the same show as it was 40 years ago, because a lot of the stuff that did work in the 80s probably doesn't work as well now, right? It's like EastEnders, as much as people say it was like, oh, it was all like, it was just about family drama, there was a lot of really, like, dark crime stuff. Like there was hard drugs, there was prostitution, there was rape, all the words that YouTube doesn't like. There was a lot of really bleak stuff in the early show. Like, and people, and that's also another thing. People typically forget the bad bits of what they enjoyed because you think back. It's like a relationship. You get out a long-term relationship. For a while, you're still back in that. Oh, was it all that bad? Yes, it was all that bad. Yes, you should definitely be separated if it was a bad relationship. But you keep going back to the feelings and the idea of that show at that peak. I mean, even just to be self-indulgent, it's like me as a wrestling fan. You know, I enjoy wrestling in the past. Do I necessarily enjoy it now and compare it to the stuff that I liked previously? Yes. But does it mean that the current show's bad because I'm not as invested? No, but then I'm also not putting as much time or interest or intrigue or actually engaging on the same level I was that I used to be. Like, it's just, it's a hard thing to do, and most people don't even realize that they're doing it. And I generally think this is why people get a bit hung up. People use the example that it's like being a sports fan, right? As a sports fan, you watch your team up the highs and lows. Like football, for example. Your team is in League One. Oh, great. You're on TV each week. You get money pouring into the club. But a couple bad years, you're not even in the football league anymore. You're playing in non-league. You have about 400 fans that turn up every week. And suddenly, it's not looking as good, is it? Because fundamentally, it's not got the same resources. It's not got the same facilities. It's not got the same people at the helm. And it starts to not exactly look the same as what you remember at its peak. But still, it has to change and invest in like different ways through time. Like, and I'll stop hogging this in a minute, but even thinking back to the most viewed, Den handing Angie the divorce papers was ridiculously well viewed, at like 30 million people tuning in, which is a big deal, and it's a really big deal for EastEnders. But also, you put it back in the context of the time, and the people had about six channels on the TV. Of course, they were watching EastEnders. It was brand new. Why would you not watch EastEnders? It's only a year deep, and there's nothing else to watch. You watch Coronation Street. Got the bloody Northerners there. Why would you watch that? So you watch EastEnders. Boom. Did they convert all those EastEnders viewers into fans? Probably not. But it's something to put on the old TV box at Christmas. Like, it always changes, and people don't necessarily realize all the nuances that go into the different times and the different interests, etc., etc. So that's my ridiculous huge point. You can talk now.
It's fine. I'm honestly not mad. I was just enjoying that. I was in the fields. See, it's a weird thing because you can compare stuff to the past. You can, but the problem is your view will get warped. To me, at least, because if you come, EastEnders wasn't as good as 20 years ago. Remember Dan and Chrissy Watts? That was just pig TV. Now they have Nish Panesar and George Knight, and it's like, yeah, but the show has to change. It's going to be a batshit comparison, but why not? It's like it's like how Peppa Pig has been on the air for 20 years, right? It has been on the air for roughly 20 years. And to freshen things up, and I can't believe I'm saying this just proves how much of a joke the UK is. Mommy Pig went on national TV, went on Great British News, Good Morning British News, something like that, and announced that she was pregnant.
Good Morning Britain.
Good Morning Britain, thank you. She went on news and went, I'm having a third kid. Now, yes, it's a publicity stunt, but it means they're changing the show. I know that's a kid show, it's completely different. You're not going to get Dan handing Angie the divorce papers saying, Good Morning Britain. But you know what I mean? They had to change the show. Because what are we going to do? Oh, Peppa Pig goes to school again. Wow, we've done that twice already. Why the fuck are we going to do it a third time? You know, you got to change it up. Just going to the slaughterhouse this time. Can't you escape? No, she can't. But like you gotta change it up. It's just a thing you have to do when you're doing a long running show. It's the comparison I make with The Simpsons. The Simpsons have been on the air for 36 years. There's going to be people who grew up with the early seasons, from like season 2 to season 9. That's considered peak seasons of The Simpsons. Then you have Zombie Simpsons, which is the middle seasons, and then you have like, oh, it's The Simpsons, which is the season 20s, the modern. And it's like, yeah, you're gonna have people who grew up with different times. So obviously, I'm a Simpsons fan, somewhat of a Simpsons fan. So it used to be on Sky One a lot, and I used to watch it like religiously. But the problem is, I was watching different times of it. So like one day there'll be a season 9 episode, one day there'll be a season 20 episode. It's just I viewed it as, oh, it's not as bad as everyone thinks it is. But obviously, then you have the older people going, it's horrible. It's horrible. The newer seasons are too much. They're too confusing. And it's like, yeah, it's because it's not really built for you anymore. They have to change. It's the same. It's just the same in any revolving door. You have to change with the times. If you don't, you're going to be stuck in the past. The only other comparison I can give is like when you bury a time capsule so if you're in the 80s, you bury a time capsule. So just imagine the 80s, all that stuff. Go on, think about it for a second. And then it's 2050. Your great grandparents bury this box. You open it. You get a woggle doll. I don't know the actual term of it. Goggly wog. I think that's what they're called. You get a Jim will fix it badge. You get a Gary Glitter EP. And you're like, Granny, why are you corpsing down in the corner? Well, son, you especially don't learn about these things.
It was a different time, wasn't it? Yeah.
See,
but yeah, that's for no. You sorry. Go.
Yeah, no. You go ahead.
No, but it is entirely. It's that different thing as well. Like a lot of the core, fundamentally, it's the same. Fundamentally, it's the same show with some of the same characters that actually stick around. And it's core rooted as being a show set in London with drama that happens to people who live there. That has never changed. The identity of that has never changed. But even then, it reaches a point where maybe that doesn't work anymore. Like Emmerdale Farm to Emmerdale, where Emmerdale was the token farm little soap where it was a lot more like The Price of Bread and just this really small village all about farming. And then at some point they realized, man, in comparison to Coronation Street, this may be different, but this is fucking shit. So they realized that the ratings were going and they started to go, shit, we need to change things. And that's where they did the big Emmerdale plane crash, where for like a week or at least a couple episodes, it almost turned like post-apocalyptic, like a plane crash and everything went down. Everybody was stuck inside. It was haunting. It's a really interesting way, but it still managed to kill off a bunch of characters, reshape the stories, and ended up just kind of revitalizing the show and making it a big deal. Soap Study did a really good video on it. But it turned Emmerdale into a soap of like modern day. It wasn't like the prehistoric farming lifestyle soap. And some people may have preferred the original, and that is also perfectly fine. But there's a certain level of investment where you can't exactly, you're not exactly going to be getting the same stuff as you used to. And it's not a bad thing. It's a matter of fact that times need to change. Like even EastEnders actors and stuff from when Tony Holland and Julia Smith stepped down, a lot of the actors went, is this really going to be a big thing in 5 years? Maybe they're taking it a bit too much of a weird direction. And a lot of the characters did leave, like Arthur. I think his name is like Bill Treacher or something. He fucked off. Lou Beale's actress Anna Wing went, I'm not sticking around for this. This is going a bit too weird. And Pete Beale. A lot of these characters who were really big in the 80s, the second the 90s, the new decade kicked off, Suddenly, it's changing. Suddenly, you bring in the Mitchells. Suddenly, you bring a bit more of like a grittier yet crime component to the show. And then it's no longer the show that you remembered if you're a fan of the 80s. But if you enjoy it enough, maybe it'll develop into something completely different. And it's just an interesting thing where people have different angles as to what they like. And it relates back to the original point being, if you watch a certain time period, you probably have a bunch of the tendencies that time period had. The 80s was set in family drama. That was the main deal, the main point, family drama at the heart of a very little like suburb, borough, whatever Walford's called. And you had different like people from different classes, you had different people from different like backgrounds, and it was all them just trying to get along with whatever was happening to them. And that family drama, that family value type set in like your family type appeal is kind of what Chris Crenshaw, the previous, technically may still be in charge, but had stepped down. That's the angle he went for a lot of his drama. He wanted that family type based drama, because otherwise you don't really want to do crime, because then the previous executive producer before Chris Crenshaw, they love the crime. Murderers, abusers, sex pests. They loved a bit of crime then. And so their direction of the show was this like more grittier, kind of harder reality. People are doing stuff for themselves, but some of your favorite characters are involved in crime, but it's okay because they're still your favorite characters. Like, it's and it's a bit of pill to swallow for some people, and especially for me, for someone who I don't really care for the crime stuff at this point. We've seen a lot of it, and we saw it towards the tail end of what Chris Crenshaw decided enough is enough with the Phil Mitchell and like Detective Keeble stuff, and went, ooh, wow, yeah, that's God, let's not do that again. So it's just it's a very peculiar thing. And obviously it's not to say that we think that people who say this are stupid or inherently dumb. That's not the case at all. We all have our own preferences. We all have what we liked about our favorite show. And for a lot of it is our favorite show. And going back to that football example, if you've been here for 30 years, maybe you don't want to kick it in at year 31. Maybe you go, all right, we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll get better. But it's also there's no timeline for kind of washing away being jaded. That's also a big problem that people have, where sometimes you can't see the light through the trees. I don't know if I just made up that phrase, but it's roughly there. But you can't sometimes. You're just fully in the mud. Your head's in the mud. You're stuck in the mud. You can't get out. And you don't even see the way out because you're all in mud. All of these analogies have fallen on their ass. But still, point being, no one knows how to not be jaded anymore. Like some people, yeah.
I'll give you a break. You have your tea, Grandad. You have your tea. But I guess to run through it again, as just talked previously, I know this is an EastEnders channel. It's wrestling, like everybody's jaded in wrestling. And I guess I can give my stance as well. Like, I know this is an EastEnders channel, but just bear with us, because technically this does work for EastEnders. Where I'm in a bit of the pickle as well, where I like the alternative product, not the big company, the second big company in America. But I'm also like slowly losing interest. Like, I'm holding on, but I am losing interest. And then something big happens, like this might date about, who cares? John Cena recently turned a bad guy in wrestling, and I'm like, oh, that's actually, he's no longer the good guy going, yeah, you can't see me, way. He's no longer doing that, and I'm like, oh, I'm actually intrigued a little. But it's always the fact I'm slipping. It's slipping through my fingers. It's just what happens. You grow older. You suddenly don't want to play the Wii. You don't want to play Mario Kart. You want to play Call of Duty. You want to be in that battlefield, screaming at 10-year-olds online that they're shit at Call of Duty on the Xbox 360.
How else am I supposed to de-stress with my life? All right. Yes, I did call you mum. But like, yeah, it's no one knows how to get out of a slump. Some people don't realize they're in a slump. Some people don't realize they're jaded. But like, for the example, I oh bloody hell, where's the timeline now? I think last year, being what, 2024, at the start of 2024, could have been 2023. I was fed up of Coronation Street. I've been fed up of Coronation Street for a while, and I took off a break between like basically November till about May, and then gradually I started to watch more, having like a good 3-4 month break. And then I started to watch a little bit more, and now the jokes were hitting a bit more. Now the storyline is, as much as I wasn't invested in all of them and I was still acknowledging they were bad, I was getting back into how it was. And just taking a little break from something can typically like not dust all the cobwebs, because the cobwebs are always coming anyways, but like it can change the way you approach it, and the way you approach it may drastically make it different. Like, we're doing this channel, for example, I can tell when I'm watching it because I need to watch it for a video, and I can watch it because I'm like, I need to watch this right now. Oh my god, I'll watch this as soon as it comes out. And it does truly make a difference as to how much you actually enjoy the show as a whole. So for some of these people who do say that it's not been good in 20 years, but you still don't like, it's not sunk cost fallacy, but it still is in the same way where you've been invested for 20 years and you still love the show, but the show's not given what you're putting in. Maybe it is the time to give it a little break for a while. Not forever. You can come back eventually, but if you just keep getting frustrated and annoyed at it, you probably do need a bit of a break.
Yeah, I believe where I can go from there is, it's just, you have to know when to hang up the boot. This sounds like you're going to bring your dog out back. And
we are retiring.
This just sounds
See ya.
This just sounds like I'm gonna bring like someone's dog out back and just bullet between the eyes to the dog.
Old yellow, that dog
in
a video game.
But yeah, it's just that kind of thing where you have to realize when your time, I don't want to say has come. That sounds like the Grim Reaper. It's like,
you're just watching EastEnders. It's not that deep.
But you know what I mean. You have to know when it's not for you. And I'm not saying there can be people who watch it and enjoy it, but you see, I see the comments on our channel, and I'm not going to name anyone. You're allowed to comment. You are free. You are a free sheep. You're allowed to roam in the field. I'm not gonna. If you shit, you have to pick it up. But like, you are allowed to, but I see all these comments where it's like, yeah, EastEnders was, or Life was good in the 80s. Yeah, it's now it's been good as it is. Like, if it's why you can watch the videos, no problem. But why are you still watching Coronation Street if you don't enjoy it? Like, obviously, Ash's watching it and he's not enjoying it, but he's kind of reviewing it for YouTube, and he is also diving into that, like, kind of.
And I'm also doing it out of love, right? I'm not doing it out of obligation. I'm not doing it just because, like, bloody hell, just got to do another Coronation. I do love the show and I want to see it get better, but you can still look at something and say maybe it's not in the best place, and it's another thing, because at the same way you can't really gatekeep how people watch their stuff. Like, it's not probably never the right approach to just say, if you don't like it, stop watching. Because still, people will watch. Still, people that spent years watching the same show, maybe they don't like it as much, but it might pick up. Who are we to be like, yeah, if you don't like it, stop watching? Because shows go in ebbs and flows. The final week of Christmas is fantastic, but the first month of January is always a bit cheeked. So, like, it does come in ebbs and flows, and there is no real guide. But it's just a strange thing to manage, is the problem, and it's hard to manage.
It's kind of I guess I'll just run through my final example. It's kind of like how there's a movie coming out next month. I don't know if you heard of this franchise, but it's some little indie game called Minecraft that got a movie. Don't know if you ever heard of Minecraft. But obviously, to build back the garden, that is obviously a joke. But like, obviously, like you have the people who are in their 20s who grew up playing Minecraft. They loved Minecraft. They loved building stuff. They loved just getting all these mods. If you have the PC version, if you don't, you have to pay for it. But they loved doing all that stuff, like free building and everything. And then they're obviously in their 20s or maybe their 30s, and they want to bring their kids see the Minecraft movie. They're not going to enjoy the Minecraft movie because there's Jack Black, Jason Momoa, and all these actors, because it's not how they wanted a Minecraft movie. And it's the kind of thing, then you know it's not for you. It's this kind of thing with watching soap where, as much as you love it, you do realise sometimes it's not for you. And it's if you want to watch the Minecraft movie and review it, go right ahead. But if you're not going to like it, there's no point not watching it because you're just wasting your time. Would you prefer not hate watch, but watching a soap you're not going to enjoy, or would you rather build a birdhouse? Like, you know, there's your two objects there. Like, would you rather just watch a show that you're not going to enjoy, or watch a movie you're not going to enjoy, or just build something, or do something else? Do a YouTube channel and talk about soaps like us. But like, it's just I see it, like I just see it. I'm like, oh, this show is terrible. It hasn't been good in 10 years. Like, yeah, but then you have to admit it's not for you. I know I technically am the gatekeeper person, but I just genuinely my beliefs to it. If you don't like it, don't watch it, because you're just wasting your time. Sure, you can watch our videos to get like a catch up on what's happening. I'm legally obligated.
I wouldn't recommend that either.
No. I'm legally obligated because I'm getting 50 quid a month. That you should do that. Thank you. But otherwise, if you want to like keep up with the show, watch our podcast or watch our videos. But if the show's not for you, don't watch it. Just do something better with your time. Like, get interested in To Kill a Mockingbird. That book's getting banned. Do something better. You know what I mean? Read. Play games. Play catch with your son. You know, just don't watch a show you're not going to enjoy. Like,
it is a bit of a waste of time.
It is.
I can't really disagree with that. And I think just to kind of wrap back into the main point and the main topic of this video. Do you think that EastEnders or soaps in general, do you think they're not as good as they used to be, and they'll never be as good as they used to be?
Yeah.
Oh, I meant that to be a discussion point.
All right. I was like, sorry. What was that again? Sorry, repeat that.
Just the main title. Just the main title. Do you think soaps are as good as they used to be? Should they just give up, for etc.
Oh, right. Sorry, I thought it was the end of the video. I just sat here like, I stopped recording and they just cut in. This is a TikTok if I've ever seen it. Just the awkward silence afterwards. But like, it does depend on when you grew up with a soap, because obviously, like my first iteration of a soap seeing as a child was Bradley saying "stay straight" and he jumps, or as I was told, he fell off the roof. But it's more funny if they say jumped. And like, obviously that was my first ever thing. But my first ever like actual thing was obviously that memory I have of my dad watching the EastEnders Christmas special 2017. He's snoring like he's just snoring his head off, and Abby's falling off the roof. Then obviously the following year, let's just skip 2018. It's been done to death. We've killed that dog about 600 times. But yeah, anyways, my obviously first reaction is 2018, and it's like, maybe it's not as good. And then I got back into the show in 2022. So my first character I've ever really seen, it's my upset people, Reese Caldwell. And now you can see why I have a soft spot for Reese. Did I get mad at him throughout some of doing this channel? I did get mad at him. But it is like your son playing baseball or football. As much as you're giving out to him, you do want him to succeed. So like, it's the kind of thing with soap. Like, as much as we rant and say, "Oh, I just need to go to this was 20 years ago," do we mean it? No, because I wasn't watching 20 years ago. I was watching about 10 years ago. But you know, it's not going to be for you if you keep going, "Well, I want it to be like 2000s." Yeah, as much as you want Den Watts back, he is fucking dead in real life. You can't bring him back. Yeah, something you will have to get over. Phil can no longer do crime. He can't. He can't do that bit out of Shaun of the Dead where he jumps the fence. Like he can't do that. He's a bit older. Sharon can't
Yeah.
be with Dennis Rickman. Ian can. Well, he can be with Jane. To be fair, that one does kind of work. Dot can't. Dot can't be with Nick Cotton because that would just run into the ground again. And yes, I know Nick Cotton is Dot Cotton is dead in real life, but still, you can't. You can replicate these storylines. You can make Sonya like Dot. You can do all of that, but it's just, what do you expect from the soap? Is my question. If you were just no, if you want it back to 20 years ago, what do you want? Do you want the same storylines? Do you want the same characters? Like, what do you really want here?
Yeah, like it's hard to judge a soap based on its historical merit because what you want 20 years ago is different from what it is now. But like I said, that's never really a bad thing. Yes, EastEnders and soap in general, they were bigger 20 years ago. They were much bolder, they were much grander. But still, it's still impressive to see these shows consistently trying to reinvent themselves, trying to do new stuff year in, year out. And yeah, sure, there may be more social issues than there were in the past. There may be more crippling illness and cancer and death and disease. Yes, some shows may be more crime-based shows. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. But I still think that it still can exceed and still can get better. Look at EastEnders from 2018 to what, like 2021, 2022. Ooh, I was my least favourite show, but in 2022 to 2025, the Chris Crenshaw era revitalised the show dramatically. Completely reshaped how people view and watch the show. Look at the 35th anniversary celebrations and the 40th anniversary celebrations. A completely different kettle of fish. So fundamentally, I'm not gatekeeping EastEnders based on how it was 20 years ago because I understand and recognize that it can't be 20 years ago again. Times have changed. We stream TV shows now. We have social media. People obsess over everything about the show. It's not going to be the same context as it used to be. But that's not to say that it still can't improve, because it almost definitely can.
And I think that's where we leave it off. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.